Tonight on Need to Know, a look back at some of the most inspiring shows and guests that impacted not only Rochester, but communities throughout the country and the world. These are the people and stories that remind us of the value of the news media and the positive imprint it can have on others. All that plus a bittersweet goodbye to a longtime staple of this show as he and I both prepare for new adventures. Please stay with us for a special edition of Need to Know starting right now. I first met Sebastian Marondit in 2011. I interviewed the president and co-founder of Building Minds in South Sudan about a significant vote in his home country in East Africa that would eventually lead to South Sudan becoming its own nation. Little did I know at the time that one of my first assignments for Need to Know would take me 7,000 miles away to the village of Mayanabun in South Sudan. My reporting focused on the impact of gender and race in education and how a community in upstate New York, our community, helped fund the opening of a school now known to have the largest enrollment of any primary school in South Sudan. The nonprofit news service Current described the reporting project as an effort to build a bridge between Rochester and South Sudan. And WXXI viewers and listeners called it eye-opening and needed. I asked Sebastian Marondit to join me on my last show for Need to Know to share how things are changing for children in South Sudan and your continued role in that work. And Sebastian, welcome back. It is great to have you here.
Thank you.
You have always been someone who seems to welcome news coverage. So whether stories about positive developments with your nonprofit or even stories about the tragedies and hardships taking place in South Sudan. And I want to know, in what ways have you witnessed the media helping and also hindering the work that you really are working to do in South Sudan?
I would say both sides, because in one side is telling the facts of what's happening in the village in terms of education, especially educating girls. But in the other part, the media seem to be saying things that doesn't exist in the country of South Sudan. So it's both sides, I could say.
Are you finding, just in terms of whether, I guess, is local news helping and hindering, is international news helping and hindering? So you're focusing on the things that aren't necessarily true.
Yes.
You're saying is being reported by international media outlets.
3 years ago, I was informed that there was a fighting in our village while I was in the village at that time. So I had a phone call within the United States asking me what's going on, in which I said, there's nothing. There's no war in the village. Yeah. So sometimes, I don't know how they get the reporters, how they get the news, but sometimes it's not facts, which really is not good.
In terms of, because I know these are challenging times in South Sudan. We had Sal Ladut here from Water for South Sudan in June, and he was sharing a little bit about that. Are there times when you said sometimes the reporting is not accurate? In what ways then can that negatively trickle down and impact your students, your teachers, your schools, even the projects that you're working to develop?
If they could figure out if it happened in one side of South Sudan is a huge country. It's bigger than Kenya or even Uganda. If it happened in one county, in east side of the Niles, the media put it as the whole country in fire instead of one county in the country of South Sudan. Where we build the schools, the region where we build a school, never had any war since 1994 when I left, after I left the village. Yeah. The last war that reached our village was 1994, about what now, 30 years ago. Wow. So there's a good thing about media saying what's happening in the regions, but sometimes they make it bigger than what it is.
actually is.
Yeah.
Well, it was in 2012 when you and your team, you invited me to
go.
travel with you to Mayanabun. And this wasn't only to document, the Ajang Primary School, but this was to meet students and teachers, even political leaders that were incredibly excited about the educational opportunities available, especially because of independence and also because of the fact that you were there working to develop and build these schools. Tell me why was it important for you and your team to have a journalist there on the ground to document that work?
Well, the most important part, we want Americans, our supporters, to see what's happening in the village. And also, it would be a good thing, too, to keep records for the past and now. If you go back to the village now, you would not tell that was the village you visited.
Wow.
When we were there.
So from 2012 to now, it's totally
different.
Changed.
We have over 900 students in the school you first went to, almost 1,000 students. The second school that we built after you went to the village have over 800 students, and it's only for girls. And right now, over 400 children are waiting for a high school that is under construction and to be open in February 2020. Yeah.
And when you were interviewed by Current Magazine about this story, you said to them, it helped tell people in the U.S. the problems with gender and race in our education. People were not aware. Now they see the big picture. What type of feedback did you receive when people became aware of some of the challenges that were taking place that they had never known about before?
It came very well because we have a lot of supporters, especially women in the United States and in our country, community here in Rochester, New York. We're getting a lot of support from women. Some women, actually, I never met them in person. They read an article, they're sending checks, and it is helping. We were expecting to finish one school in 4 years. We finished 3 schools within 4 years, which is amazing. Beside microfinance for women, beside PAD for girls.
And that's your healthcare initiative that you started for young women.
For young women in the village. So I expect more, especially next year after we finish completing high school, we'll build a small clinics for each and every child in these 3 schools can have access to medical clinic to get checked up. Yeah.
You painted a bit of a picture just in terms of how these things have changed really the landscape in Mayanabun and the way that things look. How is this, if you can, kind of share a little bit more, how have, in the past 6 years, these schools and the microfinance programs, the healthcare initiatives, how are they changing things just in terms of the economic structure, the family structure, and so on? How are you noticing things changing among people?
Well, young mothers now are busy doing business and knowing that their daughters are going to finish school and have a future. It's changing to better. Last December, I went with 3 Americans plus myself, 4. And then later on joined by Bill Cook, a former professor at SUNY Geneseo. We were welcomed by over 1,000 people, almost 2,000 people in the village. Crowded, dancers. At the beginning, when you and I went to the village, people were nervous. What is coming with Sebastian? Is he trying to change our culture, to make our culture different? Yeah. They were worried about why am I interested in educating girls? Now they understand thoroughly that I told the village and everyone in the village that when we start talking, we say mommy. And when we die, we say mommy. If woman is that important in our life, give women a chance for education. In addition to that, we also miss one thing, that when you educate a woman, her children will have chance for education. And that woman will know about her life. If she's pregnant, she will go to hospital. She can treat herself well to survive. But an uneducated woman is most likely to die during child delivery. And we need to change that. So my interest is save women's life. At the beginning, they didn't know. Now they got it.
I remember you telling me that you did a few radio interviews with reporters in South Sudan, and they said to you, what are you doing? Like, why? What is this focus? Why are you so now you're trying to take our women out of the homes and have them working and in school, and you had to explain to them how ultimately
I made a mistake in that interview. I said, by mistake, why do you fear woman power? I shouldn't say that. Then I said, no, he says, you mean women taking power of our country? I said, no, because I don't want that. I know this is behind my mission too. But I wanted to water that down until girls are educated. I told them, no, women power. Having education is power, not political power. Yeah. So at the beginning, it was challenging. They were so afraid of what coming with Sebastian from America. Yeah. Now, they are actually talking about women education. They're talking about women power. They themselves in the village.
It's amazing because I remember, if you think about it, your goal of a school in 4 years, and you've done 3 in 4 years, and then to be able to see the trajectory, what has happened, right? So the message that you first began with, this will change things for women and girls, and now women are running businesses, they have breweries, they're running restaurants. I mean, it's an incredible thing to see.
If you go to Manabun Village today, and don't say a bad word about America. You better say America is good, because otherwise they will kick you out.
So you mentioned this. You will open the high school, Mayanabun's first high school, and this will happen in 2020, in February.
February 15, 2020.
Okay, February 15th, 2020. So if I'm not mistaken, some of the students that I interviewed at Ajang Primary School, some who wanted to be accountants, judges, teachers, doctors, some of those young people will be attending this high school.
They're waiting for this high school.
Explain why a high school is so significant, because I don't necessarily think everyone may understand.
Well, education, if you educate a child to 8th grade, that's not education.
And generally, the education stopped at 8th grade there, is that right?
Yes. So we wanted to create 9th grade to 12, so they can, from the village, 1 to 12. And with help from a former professor from SUNY Geneseo, we are going to have a science lab, so they can be trained, and we are going to have a computer lab in the village. Nice. So after they finish from 1 to 12, they will then go to university. If you build only elementary school, there's no future there. They cannot go to college after 8th grade.
And I remember you saying previously that education would stop at 8th grade, and then you could go to private school, but it costs. It
costs a lot of money.
Exactly.
There's a Catholic high school, and it's very expensive, and they don't have anything. Wow. Now we are creating high school for free for them to go.
I remember there are 2 memories that really stand out for me when I visited with you. First was meeting and interviewing the first female governor at the time of East Africa, Nyandeng Malek. And the second one was the Skype interview that we did between students at School 36 and students at the Ajang Primary School. What stood out to me was that these were partnerships. These were just a few of the many partnerships that you had created with leaders, communities, schools, etc., in the U.S. and overseas. Are there other partnerships that you hope to develop in the next 5 years that you think would be really beneficial?
We are right now in the process to develop a relationship between American universities, in which San Marcos in California signed up right now. And we are hoping that Nazareth College, Cornell, SUNY Geneseo can join the University of Bahr Ghazal in South Sudan to train teachers, not only in Manabun Village, but across South Sudan. And this teaching you will not send teachers to South Sudan to teach. We will create video conferencing for American professors to get into the classroom in America to train teachers in South Sudan.
That's
through
great.
Video conferencing,
Wonderful. I mean, I know you mentioned that the health clinics, that's something that you really want to do, the smaller health clinics. Is there anything else that you have yet to tackle that you would say, this is also a priority and I want to see this happen?
Well, after a clinic, I haven't told my board members yet. The next...
You're telling us, thank you.
The next will be vocational training.
Wonderful.
Because not every child will go to university. But those who will not go to university can go to be trained, be a nursing assistant, be a plumbers, whatever they wanted to do in their life. So we'll have a vocational training in the village, but I never told my board yet.
Okay, thanks for breaking the news here on My Last Day. All right, well, we have to close, but a special thank you to Sebastian Moroney for joining me today. And also thank you for the opportunity to cover and have direct access to this incredibly important work that you're doing. To learn more about building minds in South Sudan or to check out the WXXI documentary, Schools for South Sudan, go to our website, WXXInews.org. WXXI's Martin Kaufman lives and breathes all things news. It's almost impossible to imagine him in another career, though he admits he dabbled with the idea of becoming a teacher in his younger years. Well, fortunately for Rochester and the WXXI family, he ultimately chose to work in news and production. For nearly 25 years, he's been immersed in the news and television programming at the station, shooting and editing everything from politics, election debates, and the arts to healthcare and the criminal justice system. He also helped launch Need to Know back in 1997. The program continues to be the longest-running news magazine show in Rochester. While Marty is usually behind the scenes, shooting our field packages and line producing the show, he's joining me at the desk tonight. Why? Well, after tonight, he's taking off for the many new adventures that await in retirement. So, Marty, welcome to your show. Yes, you are leaving.
I thought I was here just to talk about future shows.
This is it, buddy. This is the last one for you.
I didn't know that.
It's incredible to think about the fact that you helped launch this show 22 years ago. You've seen multiple hosts and reporters and producers, and I'm curious as to
come and go.
What are the types of changes that stand out to you when you think back over the past 2 decades?
First, we had 2 hosts, which was different. It's morphed into one.
So there were 2 hosts together at the desk.
2 hosts together, and we used to have 4 reporters at one time, and it was mostly field-based.
Wow.
A lot of work for me. And now it's morphed into basically discussion, one field package, and back in the day, we had a separate section called the business section. So every show we had somebody doing from the DNC, they did a business report. And we did that for a number of years. And at one time, the show was called Need to Know Rochester.
That's right, I remember that.
Because there was a national PBS show called Need to Know. Yeah. So we had to change the name of the show. And then they went off the air. We lasted, we stayed, and now we're back to Need to Know.
I remember you told me when I asked you about this kind of changes, and we were talking before the taping. You said it was interesting because you've seen how it's transitioned from a show that was focused a lot on politics to now being more of a show that focuses on social issues. Mm-hmm. So it's probably interesting for you to see just kind of the dynamics and the changes with the different talent that you have here.
Politics was okay to a point, local and national politics, but I like doing what we've been doing for the last few years more.
I did not pay you to say that, did I?
Yes, you did.
Well, speaking of changes, technology has been a huge thing that's changed for you, in particular when we look at the media landscape. So talk about how you approached some of those changes over the past several years.
With great trepidation, let me tell you that. There's been a lot to learn, a lot of changes. Cameras, we started out, as a matter of fact. I had a camera like this. It was a Betacam, and it was, as you can see, probably about the size that I was. It's almost big, very heavy. And now cameras are, as you know, as everyone knows, are way smaller. And we started out with, I don't know if we're still getting a shot of that, but started out with cassettes that were huge, and they gradually got smaller and smaller, and now we're just using SD cards. Wow. You can put it in your wallet and not lose it.
And then go. And I know your editing software has changed, and you're working on editing changes, and that's even, many.
Yes.
Wow.
When I started, we had tape-to-tape editing. You could just make cuts. You couldn't do anything. And with digital editing, you can basically do whatever you want. One of the downsides is you can get a little bit lazy when you're out shooting, because if you're shooting a photograph or a painting, you just get it for 2 seconds. You don't have to have it level or even, and then as they say in the business, you can fix it in post. You can do anything in post-production, pretty much. You don't have to be steady, you don't have to...
So it's okay if the camera's shaking. And
you can even sharpen things. And it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
Well, Marty, you've covered hundreds of stories. You have met thousands of people throughout your tenure at WXXI. And I know that one of your all-time favorite projects was a documentary that you worked on. It was called Garth and Wynton, The Project. You shot and edited this film with Garth Fagan and Wynton Marsalis. And we have a short clip of that production before we start talking about it.
Let's see it.
The way that Garth embraces the underlying form of the music, which allows you to dance and us to improvise. So we're kind of loosely playing around our solos. And rehearsals will ask him, do we need to get a drum hit or do we need something? And he'll tell us yes or no.
Now, when you wrote, I heard from your music supervisor that you worked pretty quickly, that you had this done, and so it was recorded and handed over to Garth. At that moment, what were you expecting to hear from him, or was there any concern that he might not like it?
No, I don't. If he didn't like it, he would tell me. I would do something else if he liked it. I mean, it's not, our thing is deeper than that. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's the respect I have for him and what he has done and his belief in art and in culture, in all of the cultures of the world and in the Afro cultures, but in all of the cultures. He's not, all the great artists that I was ever fortunate to be around, they were never kind of race people who were only about their thing. They were always about the human heritage. They embraced their ethnic heritage. That's the first sign of their power and their sense of self. But they understood how their ethnic heritage fits, most importantly, in the context of the human heritage. Yeah. And my respect for him and what he has done and his involvement with me through all these years has been so solid. And so our relationship goes far beyond any piece of music, or if he didn't like it, I'll do it again.
Yeah, and if I didn't like it, I'd tell him, and if he didn't like it, he'll tell me. We're not BSing each other. We're going right to the jugular, because we have time. We don't have time for that.
So that was a piece that you worked on with former host
That was
Julie
great.
Phillips.
Yeah.
So talk about, what was that experience like for you?
It was so great to see people at that level. Well, it doesn't get any better than Wynton Marsalis.
Yeah.
And his
That's true.
his band, his orchestra, and just to be around them and to see how they work was very inspiring. It really makes you want to do a good job. It makes it gives you that incentive to be your best, or to try to be your best.
Was there anything that from their interviews, or just kind of from observing from filming, that really stood out to you, that intrigued you or was fascinating to you about them? How they worked, how they processed things?
Well, in terms of practicing, I had never heard this. This might be a saying in music industry or the dance, I don't know, but professional theater in some form. Let me see if I can get this right. Somebody told me an amateur practices until they get it right. A professional practices until they can't get it wrong.
Wow.
And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a real professional and, again, it made me want to do my best and to go above and beyond where I was before.
Well, there is another story I want to talk with you about. It's one that we worked on together. It's another one of your favorites, about the change agents. Now, these are guests who were regulars on Need to Know. I'm talking about Jeremiah and Joshua West and their sister Jordan. And they wrote that book, Champions of Change Live to Give, about the power of giving and what it means to take care of and love others. And this was after an encounter that they had in New York City with a homeless man. And so I want to show, this is a clip when we were filming them at a summer camp that they were leading, and they were teaching other young people how to be change agents. Yeah,
They're incredible.
So let's check this out.
You guys can just do little things that will make a huge impact. So write down some ways, maybe just helping your mom when she's really stressed out or when she's really tired. She just got home from a long day. Maybe that will be you helping your brothers and sisters.
These kids are learning how little deeds can make a huge impact. That's actually a motto for these two young men, 10-year-old Jeremiah and his brother, 7-year-old Joshua West.
So guys, 1, 2, 3, all eyes on me.
While they may not look like your average teachers, make no mistake, they're the ones leading this lesson.
Very good answer, Emerson. That is a very good way to say it. So what Emerson just said, that is a very good way. I'm gonna take one more. I saw Javen had his hand up. I'm gonna take Javen.
They live out on the streets.
Yeah, they live out on the streets, and they don't have any homes or any food, like Emerson said. Okay, guys.
In this exercise, the Rochester brothers are teaching their student peers how to be change agents. It's a term they use when referring to people who give back to their community. And it's also what they strive for each young man to become when they graduate from their summer program, Change Academy.
Change Academy is a program for young African American and Latino boys that teaches them about presentation skills, how to manage their money wisely, how to dream big and start small, how to be community helpers, and also that that they can do anything they want to do.
So we were blown away by
Those kids are
Jeremiah
amazing.
Joshua.
Oh, absolutely.
Why do you think it was important for us to share their story with our viewers?
They're so selfless. These young kids, and most young kids are not like that. I mean, they're so self-centered, and to tell you the truth, I find their parents, to be basically they were the influencers, and they created them.
Yeah.
The kids were born, and they're basically a clean slate.
Yeah.
So I credit really their
Olivia
parents.
and Norman
Yes,
West, yeah.
absolutely.
And they moved to North Carolina not that long
Absolutely.
ago, but they were on the Ellen DeGeneres show not that long ago. They're making waves nationally.
My only question is, are they going to go to Princeton or Harvard? And probably in a couple of years.
We'll find out, right. Well, Marty, before we close, I have to ask, after nearly 25 years at WXXI, you are ready for a new adventure. What awaits in retirement?
Well, I thought of becoming a sheep herder, but I don't have the land for
I know
that.
you don't.
No, so that's out. But I've always, when I was in college, I always thought it would be great to take classes when you didn't have to take tests, you didn't have to worry about grades.
Yeah.
So I plan on doing that. RIT has a continuing education program, so I plan on taking some classes and maybe some art classes. What does this mean?
That means it's time to wrap.
Oh,
You've got 30
okay.
seconds left. 20 now.
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
That's what you usually tell me in my ear to do.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to make sure people, and you love to hike and to kayak and
in the
those would be
summer, not in the
things.
winter. I'm not going to do that in the winter.
Okay, well, we have to close. It is a bittersweet goodbye to Marty Kaufman, and I want to thank you personally for not just being a colleague who made me a better journalist and a better producer, but also an incredible friend. And it has been
Same
an
to you.
absolute
Same
thank
here.
you. So I greatly appreciate it. And with that, I too am saying goodbye tonight to Need to Know. It has been an honor to host and produce this program for the past 7 years. Thank you for joining me on Thursday night so together we could explore issues, unpack challenges, examine potential solutions, and meet leaders and everyday people working to make our community stronger. I'm excited to grow my production company, which creates and produces short films on social issues and promising responses to those issues impacting societies around the globe. And part of that work involves a new position with the Solutions Journalism Network based in New York City. I will miss your emails, your social media shout outs, your feedback, but I do hope that you will stay in touch. And Marty, that wraps up another edition of Need to Know, Rochester's news magazine. Stay tuned to WXXInews.org for the latest updates on the new Need to Know coming this fall. Have a great night.